Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to perform a little bit of code refactoring as well as to clean up some loose code. I think this lesson is really optional. So if you want to maybe clean up your code like myself, I think please feel free to watch on because I think that whatever that we have covered so far is already working. So what I would like to do is that I see that we have a couple of random print statements around. So I'm just going to remove this, line 84. And line 93 as well, and because of this I no longer need a reference to the user ID, so I can just make this an underscore. Okay, and I noticed that we are creating an instance. I think this should be some kind of singleton over here, and what I like to do is to abstract all this logic into some kind of manager class. Okay, so I'll come over to my manager folder and let's create a new file. So I'm going to select a Swift file, and for the name I'm going to call this auth manager. Alright, so basically what we are doing over here is to write a layer on top of the Firebase functions. So let's import Firebase auth, and should this be a class or should this be a strut? Okay, so the question to ask is that do I need to have any kind of inheritance? So I think my answer is no. Alright, the second question I have to ask is, do I need to keep some kind of state? Because if I have to, then maybe a singleton would be more appropriate. But if this is not necessary, then maybe I could stick with a strut instead. Okay, so guys, I'm just going to use a strut instead, a plain old simple strut. Okay, and let's see. So over here in the login view controller, we are creating a user, and this is actually under the sign up button tab. So maybe the function I like to call it sign up new user, and then I'll have the with email, which is of type string. And then we need to pass in the password as well, which is of type string as well. Okay, so I'm just going to come over to the login view controller and just copy this this whole block over here and come back to this auth manager. And I think I will just paste this in here and just comment this, and I'm just going to use this as reference. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is to just copy and paste blindly. So what I like to do usually is to just copy as a reference, and then I'll just work on with this. Okay, so this function, we will create our own completion handler. So this will return to us a result type, and if this is a success case, what I like to return would be the Firebase user. And if let's say there is a failure case, then maybe I like to return an error object instead. Okay, so basically this is an abstraction on top of this. So let's do the implementation over here. So auth.auth. Okay, so guys, I know that I'll be using this instance in other functions over here. So maybe what I like to do is to just create the create a reference over here instead. So let me just do it this way. So now I can just say auth.create user with email password. I'm just going to pass in the email and the password, and the completion, I'm going to hit the enter button. Again, it's going to return to us an result optional as well as an error optional. Alright, so I'll pass in result and error. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to make sure that we handle the we want to handle the error if an error exists. So we can do it by doing an if let error equals to error. So that means that error is not new. We want to return the error in the failure case. So let's select failure, and we're going to pass in the error object itself. Okay, else if let user equals to result, which is this result over here, dot user. Okay, so if we have the user in the result object, then we're gonna return the success case. Okay, and the success case, we have defined that the object to return would be the would be the user, and therefore we can just pass in this user over here. Alright guys, so I think I want to handle the last else case, alright, which is very unlikely to happen. If this happens, that means that the Firebase SDK is potentially buggy. So but regardless, we're going to handle this anyway. So what I'd like to do is that I'm going to create like some kind of custom error over here. So I'll do enum, let's do auth error that inherits the error protocol, and then I'm just going to say unknown error. Alright, so I'll say that, hey, you know, if there is no error, if there's no error over here, and if there is no user, then something is terribly wrong over here, and therefore we want to return a failure case. Whoops, a failure case, and we're going to return an unknown error. That means we don't know what's wrong. Okay, it's a bit of an irony, but yeah, that's how we have to do it. Okay, so it'll be an unknown error. All right, guys, so I think this should be a lot easier to work with. So right now we're just going to remove this this reference code over here, and I'm going to come back to the login view controller. Okay, so this part is the part that we can modify. So I'm going to again comment this out, and I need to have a reference to the auth manager. Okay, so let's come to the top over here and let's create a reference to the auth manager. So this will be private auth manager equals to auth manager. Okay, and then we can come all the way down and we can do auth manager dot sign up new user. Okay, so I have the email, so let me just copy this in, and I have the password as well. I'm going to copy this in, and for the completion I'm going to hit the enter button. So I'm going to say that this is result. So we need to switch through the different cases. So for the let's see, can we do it, switch result, and the first case would be a success case. So if this is successful, we will have reference to the user, which is the Firebase user. Okay, so we can either do some kind of manipulation to this data if we want to. So okay, guys, let me just type in everything first, and then I'll show you what are the choices that you have. Okay, so maybe I'm just going to print out user.email. Okay, something like that. And then I'm going to handle the failure case. So this will give me the error. Alright, so if there's an error, what do I want to do? I want to show the error message if needed. Let me just copy this here. Alright, of course it's going to complain that I don't have this, so let's do wig self, and let's do guard let this equals to self else return. Okay, so this should not complain anymore. And then over here, so for the success case, I want to show the main tab bar controller. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste this in here as well. And also, let's not forget to hide the animation. So this happens when the callback is being received. So I can just paste this over here. All right, guys, so this will work. I'm very confident that this will work. Okay, but if let's say there is no need for us to do any kind of print statement, we don't need to save the user ID or the user email or to manipulate this data, what we can do is that we can just remove this bracket over here, and I think this should be fine as well. Alright guys, so to show that this will still work, let me just run the app one more time, and let's sign up a brand new user. Okay, so there is an error, so let's go up to see what's wrong with this. Oh, I think I missed out this private. Maybe I can do a private let. Okay, so let me just run this. And I think it's complaining that we missed the escaping keyword. So let's come over here and let's do escaping. Okay, I think this should work this time. Alright guys, so let's see who else can I register. I have already Jasmine and a lot of Kelvin now. So shall we do Kelvin 7 maybe? Alright, so Kelvin 7. So this is signing up a new user. So let's come to the simulator here. Let's do sign up. Let's do Kelvin 7 at example.com. Password 12345678. 12345678, and let's click on the sign up button. Alright, I think this should work. Kelvin 7, and let's come over to my Firebase. And if I am to just refresh this, I should see Kelvin 7 somewhere, which is this over here. And yes, today is the 5th of April. So yep, this is the latest user that has been signed up. Okay, so this works. So the next thing I want to do is let's handle the logging in of the user as well. So let's come to the login view controller. And let's see, so login button tap. Okay, so it's the logging in function. So I'm going to create another function over here, login user, okay, with email, with email. Let me just bring this to the middle, with email of type string, password of type string, and then the completion. I think I'm going to do the same signature as well. Okay, so this will return also a result type. And if this is a success case, we want to return the user. Otherwise, we want to return an error object over here. Okay, so same thing. I have the reference to the auth, so I can do auth dot is it sign in? Yeah, sign in with email. So I'm just going to pass in the email, the password, and for the completion I'm going to hit the enter button, and I think the signature is the same. So firstly, let's check for error. If let error equals to error, okay, we're gonna return the completion with a failure case, and let's pass in the error. Else if let user equals to result dot user, and then we're gonna return a success case, and then we're gonna pass in the user. I think else, again, this is very unlikely to happen, but we'll handle this anyway. If there is no error from Firebase and there is no user from Firebase, then something is really wrong. We will return a failure, and we'll say that, hey, this is some kind of unknown error. All right, so typically what you like to do, if you are working on a production app, is that you probably want to have some analytics to log if line 39 is firing. And if you see, like, if your logs is showing that you have an unknown error, then that kind of prompts you that you might need to do some further investigation. All right, so guys, let's come back to the login view controller again, and over here I'm going to highlight this whole thing, and I'm going to do auth manager dot sign in, dot login instead. Okay, so since the function name is login button tab, so I'm going to call this login user with email. Let me pass in the email and the password, and for the completion handler, let's hit the enter button. This will be a result. Again, we are going to switch through the result, and if this is a success case, again, I don't think I need a reference to the user, so I'm just going to remove that bracket, and I'm going to say, hey, let's show the main tab bar controller. What else? If this is a failure case, let's have the reference to the error, and then we're going to do this over here, and let's do the weak self, and let's also do this one over here as well. Okay, let's paste this in, and let's not forget to hide the animation. Okay, so I think this should be fine, and let me just run this one more time to ensure that we can log in a user. So what I'll do is that, because I've already logged in with Kelvin7, I believe. Okay, so what I'll do is to come to settings and just log out, and now I'm going to log in with Kelvin7 again. So Kelvin7 at example.com, password will be 12345678. I'm going to click the login button now, and I should be logged in. Alright guys, this is all I have for you in this video. I still see some repeated code over here, and in the next video I'm going to perform some further refactoring.